good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really great. Are we close?
Yeah.
Great.
Must have run.
No.
How can Sally do that? Hasn't she got a show lined up?
I guess not.
She's got the audience.
It's nice that she doesn't understand TV and come over here and waste all our time while she's trying to book you for a gig.
Whoa. Well, you were fairly tough on her.
It's the first time she's ever talked to us.
Just 2 nights.
You need to go behind the wall on this side. You just need to open it downstage door.
But we did get to see her husband. That was a treat.
Yeah, that was good. Now we know what Sally's saying.
Really.
If you ever
It
wonder.
explains everything, I think.
Just open it a tiny bit. Nope, downstage door. Downstage door.
But she does good. She's a big show, and she's
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
you.
Little bit.
Yeah.
Good.
Oprah Winfrey, she's one of those.
And you need to.
Do you have to do
bring
all
up that
these while you're
bottom door
here?
again.
No, I don't know actually
Good.
what I'm doing. I hate to tell you. It's like it's like a bull with a ring in the end of his nose. I get pulled around.
What camera is that, though? Okay.
That's it.
You wait a second, one second.
And this is it. Look around that room.
Okay.
Can you hear that?
You have any time off while you're here? You're here for a week or two? Or?
No, we're actually doing 2 days. That's why it's all compressed.
Jeez.
Which is fine because then we actually get a holiday.
Yeah.
This is actually on the way to a holiday, so I'm not too depressed.
Going anywhere exciting?
Just the West Coast,
Yeah.
which is pretty exciting.
I like it out there.
Well, there's a bit of weather, this time of year.
Yeah.
But I just saw you recently out there, I think.
No doubt.
It's probably not recent for you. I've been back to Britain.
No.
It's probably, you probably got so many you're doing, you have no idea.
I do quite a few.
Yeah. It was good. It was fun, anyway, whatever it was.
Yeah. Talked to George and the rest of the Traveling Wilburys the other day.
Yeah, they just finished the new album.
Yeah. It's a good record. I like it. It's
Yeah.
really neat.
Yeah.
Apparently they just go in the
More
studio.
skiffly, Ringo.
Yeah, it's more rocky and
More sort of,
yeah, it's neat. And,
it's a
they,
nice gig for them all, really.
yeah, and they say Jeff Lynne said they go in the studio, they start writing, and an hour later they got it recorded. It's like great, back to that, and I'm in favor.
Yeah, I know.
Just watch your leaning over this way because Warren is pretty tight. I want your hands also.
Okay, so don't go like this.
Sorry? Yeah. Kurt, is this nice? Do you need this?
Yes.
You're cool with beverage and everything?
That
You
we
got enough?
need this.
You got enough to
Yeah,
drink?
that's fine, yeah.
Do I sit it on?
There you go. There we go.
Yeah, Beck, is that better?
This is the napkins. That's fine. Nice losing on that.
You're welcome.
Well, you look good over here.
Yeah, that's all we're worried about. Probably best if they turn those monitors off. I'll just be looking at them.
So again,
Turn 'em around.
Two shot into his close-up. Any second now. Okay, Kurt, quiet, please. Anytime.
Okay, let's start out by talking about the movie as reunites you with Richard Lester. How did this come about?
Sorry.
Sorry, bad question?
I'm sorry, Jenna.
You took too long to answer.
Yeah.
It's like a chess game, a little clock.
Oh, you got to get in real quick next time.
Yep, we have it. Okey-dokey.
Are they checking tape or something? Or we can go?
Yeah, no, we're done.
We still rolling? Yes, I let him know.
I think what I was trying to say was this new film of yours reunites you with Richard Lester after all these years. How did this come about?
Originally, when we were going to go on tour, the promoter said to us, "You're going to take a support group." And we were toying around with the idea, but it eventually got a bit difficult.
Yeah.
So I had to put their stage down, put ours up and
Yeah.
stuff. It got difficult. So we hit upon the idea of doing a film. So my first choice was Richard Lester, and I kind of rang him up and said, "You fancy doing a little 15-minute film at the front of our show?" that will kind of introduce me, you know, for anybody who doesn't know what I've done, we'll show them what we've done.
Are there people like that out there, do you suppose?
Sure.
Oh,
sure.
all right.
And so Dick said, yeah, he'd be happy to do it. And he came up with this film that was a bit more uncompromising than I'd really required. I just actually wanted him to say, you know, the Beatles, Wings, and Tonight. But he kind of got into the period heavily, you know, showed sort of Vietnam and showed all sorts of things, which I thought was great, really, because it gave people like something else to go home and think about after the show. So when it came to somebody suggested we make a feature of the tour, I think a lot of people who were suggesting it thought, well, it's his last tour. It's kind of natural when the Stones go out, or the Who go out now. The first question is like, is it your last one? And although I said, no, it won't, you know, I'm enjoying this too much, I think they thought it might be. I think Dick probably still thinks it. But anyway, he agreed to do the film, and he's just putting the finishing touches to it now, so it should be out kind of roughly spring '91 or something.
Well, with him directing this, it obviously won't be a standard tour documentary, I suppose, right? Is that safe to say?
That's the thing, yeah. And in fact, that's been a cause of a lot of difficulties, because people are looking at it and sort of saying, well, you know, we want something looks like MTV, you know. Looks, well, you know, but I mean, that's the kind of standard in many ways. And he, being an older guy, being more a feature director, said, no, I'd like to do something different, you know. So he's had quite a bit of trouble trying to persuade people to do that. But luckily, he stuck to his guns. And I think he's making a pretty interesting concept. I don't think it'll look like the others.
I think it's ironic because I think his editing style was sort of the beginning of the MTV style. You know, he's the first guy that did that. Do you remember when you were working with him on A Hard Day's Night and Help? Did you guys realize that you were doing something that would change the look of film as it was done, especially like pop movies?
Not really, but at the time it wasn't hard to do something better than most of the rock films, because they'd mostly come out of the States and had been low-budget things with kind of things like Alan Freed, sort of, you know, and he's sort of rather embarrassed wooden acting and stuff, and not a lot of comedy, and really just showcase for most of the kind of pop acts at the time, you know. And whilst we'd enjoyed them, we always kind of, it's tongue-in-cheek. You thought, well, it's great singing the people, but it's not a good film. And you stacked it up against a Fellini or an art film.
Right.
They didn't make it, you know. So with Dick Lester, we saw this film he made called the Running, Jumping, Standing Still film. It was a mad little 5-minute thing. And we said, God, if he'll do it, that's the man for us, you know. So between him and us and the scriptwriter, we came up with something a bit more in line with what we were doing, you know, the sort of deadpan humor, the sort of wit that was knocking around at the time. And so that was really quite good, you know, in the end. It was, I don't know if we felt like we were doing something to change the world, but we certainly thought we would make a slightly better rock and roll film.
You didn't worry when he just told you to go out in a field and run around. You figured he knows what he's doing, right?
Yeah, no. We thought that was great. Listen, if you're cooped up in a studio, I mean, right now I'd like to go and run out around the field.
Maybe after this. Certainly. Is the band from this tour going to stay together? You've said that you really like this band. It feels good, or is this a permanent thing?
I think so, pretty much. But the truth is, I haven't actually asked them if they'll tour again.
No.
So you know, I mean, hopefully, you know, they'll stick together and stuff. But you never know what happens, you know.
No.
I think most of the band will stick together. You know, maybe a change or two. I don't know yet.
No.
We'll have to see. You know, how everyone feels. You know, when we come to actually do the next. I'm saying we're going to tour at the end of next year. That depends, you know, if we've kind of done a new album, if we've rehearsed up and stuff. But I think it's likely we'll pretty much have the same thing, only a different show.
Are you working on material now? I mean, you're writing songs frantically? Or?
Yeah, I am at the moment, yeah. I've got kind of a bit of time off. And it's great, yeah. I just take days and sort of write some stuff. I've got a little bit of stuff cooking for the next hour.
I understand you're doing an oratorio of some sort. What's that all about?
Well, that's actually what's taking up my time at the moment. Oratorio is like a choir work, something to do with a lot of choral work. What it is I've been asked by my hometown, Liverpool. The orchestra, the Philharmonic Orchestra, Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra, is 150 years old.
Wow.
Not the guys in the orchestra, although that's sometimes in doubt. But they got a big anniversary coming up, and they wanted me to write something, like in celebration of it. So it's like a huge offer, you know, and a huge thing to bite off work. Because, I mean, I've only done, 7 minutes top whack as a piece. And when you start having to actually look at an hour or an hour 20 or something.
Wow.
With a symphony orchestra. But it's great. I'm having a lot of fun.
How do you do this? You don't write it down in notes
No,
or anything,
I'm
right?
working with a guy called Carl Davis, who's actually a New Yorker who's living in London. He's done a lot of film work. And I was attracted to him. I read an interview once where he said, if it moves, I'll score it. I thought, I like this guy. You know, he loves to do that. So he was the guy who actually asked me for the orchestra if I'd do it. So what happens is we sit in a room. Either he comes to my place, I go to his. We say, right, where are we up to? Right, we're up to the bit where the girl, now we've got to do the sort of sad song because this has happened. And he'll say, how about doodly-doo? I'll say, no, how about something weirder?
Yeah.
How about doodly-doo? Okay, we start there. And then he writes it up.
Yeah.
He's the one who's the great, you know, he can write, as I say, if it moves, he'll score it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty exciting.
Is there
you write orchestral passages.
Yeah.
You write sort of vocal passages. It's going to be fruitier than anything I've ever done because just the nature of a symphony orchestra with sort of soloists, immediately it's difficult to make it unfruity, you know. But that's what I'm trying to do. That's basically what I'm there for.
There's a libretto for this? Is this a story that ties into Liverpool mythology or something?
It's a loose story, a story loosely based on my upbringing. First half of it is kind of my upbringing, and then it stops being me then, and it just becomes a Liverpool life.
Yeah.
But there's a loose story. I mean, what Carl did, he came to me, he said, you know, he said, this New York guy, he said, tell me about your life, you know, what happened? I said, well, I was born in the war. He said, that's good. The war? It's great. Hope. A birth in the war. That's good. It's dramatic. Well, sure is. Get it down. So we wrote this kind of very loose scenario. He said, what happened next? I said, well, school, really. He said, well, and he got me to tell him stories about school. And when I'm telling him these stories, I said, well, I had this teacher called Miss Inkley. He said, Miss Inkley? Okay, so he writes that down. I said, she taught us Spanish. And I said, and she had heavy makeup, but we were told that she'd been something in the war. Very heavy makeup. And we were told we could call her Sir, which, like, when you're 11, it's like, Sir? We've got to call... So, you know, she was the only lady teacher in the whole school. So she figured, you know, after we'd seen to say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, Miss would come difficult, you know. So we were allowed to call this one Sir. So he took all this down. He said, great, you know, we'll have a Miss English song. So she's in it. And then it goes on, and eventually, it gets to a point where it's not really about me anymore. We just made it up from there. It just seemed to take another turn. And we didn't really want to just have a Beatles story, because that's been so well documented anyway. Right. It's not ground I sort of would have enjoyed going over, particularly, you know. And it wouldn't be very original, so we just made it up from there.
It's nice that you're friends now with the Liverpool establishment. You know, it's been a long time. It took them a long time to acknowledge yourself and the Beatles, didn't it? I mean,
well, it's strange, you know. I mean, those kind of classical players, there is a snobbery amongst those people, you know, that normally, like, East and West don't mix, you know. We don't. In fact, there's a strange thing. And when we first started recording at EMI, on the desk, there used to be actually a switch that said classical, pop. And we used to get real annoyed.
what did that do?
Well, we used to say, what have they got that we can't have? Put it to classical. And it turned out it was actually just a range of EQs. We had the hard sort of pop EQs. They had soft. But we used to get annoyed. We said, we're subsidising them.
How true.
They can have all the good EQ. But, yeah, you know, now those classical people, I think they acknowledge people like Beatles and Dylan and people who've kind of come through that whole thing and still are around.
Yeah.
And I think in the classical field it's difficult to find people writing good melodies because they're all onto kind of freaky, avant-garde and very atonal, because that's sort of the logical progression. Whereas I'm still in the sort of, you know, if I think classical, I still sort of go back to sort of Beethoven, Mozart. Yeah. So I still think melody.
Right. You're not a 12-tone man, I guess.
Not really. I mean, I like that. In fact, this project, you know, is getting me more and more interested in that fact, that you can put any note with any note. Because if I'm in C, I play tunes in C. But, you know, the whole point about what we're doing is you don't have to. You can come across in E flat across C. And what it makes is a strange noise that kind of gives you a different kind of emotion from just what we're used to. So it's liberating for me.
You could probably do this on a synthesizer, couldn't you? Just sit down and
you could
do it all out.
But it's not as good as an orchestra.
Yeah.
It really isn't. I mean, in fact, I started off with this orchestra. I went to see them at the Proms, the Royal Albert Hall. They have symphony concerts each year, and it was a very hot summer, '89. I went to see them, and I came out thinking, well, that's the ultimate synth.
It's true.
That
Yeah.
orchestra, there it is. There it is. You want a kind of French horn sound? Boy, lady, play the horn.
Sir.
And also, happens to be a lady in the Liverpool orchestra. But so that's exciting when you realise, you're actually working with the ultimate synth. These string sounds are the best.
Yeah, it's true. You'd been giving a lot of promotion to Friends of the Earth on your last tour, and I wondered if this tour must have helped them out a lot. I imagine, did it not? Are they able to do new things now?
Yeah, I think it has helped them. They certainly got back in touch with us and said, thanks for kind of getting our name known around the world. So, it's really been good. The main thing, rather than the group themselves, the Friends of the Earth, being thankful, which they are, the main thing I like is that kids writing me letters and saying, okay, I did a lecture at my school and I used your tour brochure for the information.
Yeah.
That's great to think that it's got around like that, because that's who I'm interested in, is that the young kids with the message.
Yeah.
It's no good asking Mr. Bush to sort it.
Probably
but
not.
He's got a lot of problems, the man.
Sure does.
And he's not going to just say, okay, because he's got so many vested interests, and he's got to think about these people who are hitting him for this, pesticide people and the arms people, But the kids don't have that restriction, so they can go right to the sense of it. And they just say, well, what's the point? We're about to blow it up or survive,
Exactly.
So they seem to be the strong people who are going to do the work. So I'm very glad that happened.
Have you rearranged your life in any way for ecological reasons? I mean, we see this more and more. People are like having different disposal systems and paper here, cans here, and stuff like that. Have you totally rearranged your
I think
your living?
it is happening generally. I'm not any more special than the next person, but instead of throwing away your Coke cans now, they sort of tend to go in a sack to go somewhere. I mean, I'm not a great expert on this, but you do little things. I've been farming for a long time. I don't know if you know that. It's quite a number of years now. We've had a farm, and we're going organic this year. None of your pesticides.
Oh, really?
So it's dead cool. Yeah, it's really exciting. I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, really, you're involved in kind of one of the most modern things going in farming, anyway, like organic farming. And it's really the most ancient.
Yeah. What do you do with the stuff that you grow? Do you consume it all yourself, or are you selling it by the side of the road or something?
No, you sell it. I mean, for instance, we grow organic wheat. This is getting more like Farmer's Gazette. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Iowa Farmer's Gazette. Today we're discussing organic farming with me and Kurt over here, famous farm correspondent. Now, you sell them. You sell them, really, what I'm trying to do is...
Do you have a brand name? Is there Paul McCartney potatoes or something?
It just goes into everybody's stuff. Your stuff goes in with everybody else's. Paul McCartney potatoes. Okay.
Could be a happening thing, I think.
I'll think about it.
I'd heard that there was a story somebody told me about that you're a vegetarian, that you had been liberating lobsters in London. How does this work?
That was a great story, actually. It wasn't true, unfortunately. It was a terrific story.
Talk about it anyway.
Yeah. No, it actually just appeared in the papers. And I just thought, well, I won't ring them up and tell them I haven't been liberating lobsters. I mean, it's a good story. I don't care. It's the kind of thing I would do if I had the time. The nearest thing we ever did to that, I say that's just a newspaper story. I've got this mad publicist at the moment. He's here. He's making everything up. I don't mind too much as long as it's not.
We'll bring him up a little later.
Too wild, Yeah, he's fairly insane. This guy. But the nearest thing we ever did to that was we were on holiday in the Caribbean, and a local fisherman caught a beautiful turtle, big sea turtle, and we went, oh wow, And he said $10, and right on. Bought the sea turtle. He heard, unfortunately, we said we were going to release it, and then he wouldn't sell it to us.
Really?
He said, no, you're going to, if we had it as soup, fine, $10, no problem.
I'm curious.
The minute he thought we were going to release it round in the next bay, I think actually he thought that the great god of turtles would never send him another turtle again. I think it's that kind of thinking.
Yeah.
So we had to give it him back. It was really depressing,
Yeah.
That's as near as we got to saving lobsters, a sea turtle once.
Are you a great proselytizer of this? I mean,
I don't even know what that means, Kurt.
Well, it means that if you go somewhere and say, you shouldn't be eating meat, I don't eat meat, you shouldn't do it. Are you one of those people? Or
No, just the opposite. In fact, it's sometimes very embarrassing being vegetarian because people sort of say, oh, I'm sorry I'm eating this meat. It's your life, man. I'm not going to tell you what to do. We only do it because me and Linda are mad animal freaks from way back. She was always into animals and stuff, and I was in Liverpool, And then she did photography, I did the Beatles, and you kind of forgot about all that. When we got back together again, that became a kind of important thing for us. So she's quite an activist in animal causes like PETA and things like that, you know. And I do my bit, but I think it's really embarrassing to tell anyone what to do, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I might suggest to someone that, you know, this is maybe a better idea, or you might be healthier doing this, or certainly the cow will be healthier, you know, that kind of thing. And I'll support people like Katie Lang, you know, if they have a view. I'm not reticent about my view, but I don't preach it. No, I think that's really embarrassing, actually.
Yeah.
I think the best way to tell people is anyway by example. You know, people say, you can't get your protein with vegetarian, you know, you can't be fit, like, you can't be strong, like. And on the tour, actually, I said to I had a problem with a couple of our big riggers, with the big guys.
Steak and potatoes guys, right?
The macho boys, you know, the big football players. And they came, the promoter came to me, he said, Paul, he said, look, you want to cater vegetarian? He said, a couple of the guys are going to give you a hell of a problem. I said, well, you know, they ought to find other tours then. I said, because I can't pay for it. I can't pay for this.
Yeah, right.
You know, if I believe what I believe, I can't go buying the stuff.
Yeah.
So I said, look, you know, you look at nature. I said, what's the biggest pumped up, most tough animal that you wouldn't like to meet on a dark night in the jungle? It's like a big gorilla.
Yeah.
A big gorilla. Now, he's not takes any steroids.
Right.
He doesn't do nothing, and he eats leaves. This guy just and he's terrific. He gets his protein from somewhere. And so anyway, I think that persuaded them, and they said, okay. I said, look, you know, if you want to go out and buy a Big Mac, it's no problem for me, you know, but I'm just not going to buy it, that's all.
Yeah.
And in fact, you know, a lot of people on the tour turned vegetarian anyway, because we just had some quite good nosh, you know.
Yeah.
Just tried to make it taste good and said, no, it's good for you.
There are some people that would say, I mean, I think the hamburger crowd would argue, well, the scientists have found out that if you cut a flower or something, it screams. I mean, do you think about that?
Yeah, that's the kind of next argument, I'm not sure about that. You know, you know, something happens, I'm not sure it screams. I've never heard one. But I have heard cows scream.
Yeah,
and I
true.
know they scream, you know. We've got sheep on our farm, you know. As I say, I don't want to get this too much farmers.
Yeah, right.
But the point is, you know, about this is only our point of view. It's not a watertight theory. It's just something we've grown to after the 60s, all of this. And, you know, many people in the 60s would bite into a steak and think, oh, my God, it's flesh I'm eating.
Yeah.
They're probably on heavy acid trips at the time. But that was what happened. You know, a lot of people, oh, my God, and you heard a lot of stories. It's that kind of thing that's happened to us, you know. It's just... And the main worry was, is it going to be healthy enough? Well, you know, after this tour, you know, and the crazy leaping around that I was doing on that tour, you know, I feel it must be healthy somewhere. You know.
I know Katie Lang did this spot for anti-meat spot, and she got some stations in the Midwest and the farming country stopped playing her music. It was amazing.
I heard they never played her anyway.
Probably not. But do you worry about stuff like that, or at this point
really.
do you not?
No, man. I mean, you know, it's like... I've never really worried too much about it. You can't worry about it. You know, you're just yourself, and as long as you don't feel kind of too bad about what it is you're doing, then it's okay to stand up for it. I mean, if someone says, well, should we have a march for peace? Yeah, you know, I don't know if I feel bad about that. And it's the same kind of thing for me, you know. I think it's okay. I think it's a good theory. I personally think it's going to be a very serious thing in the next century. I think, actually, economically, I don't think the world's going to be able to afford to eat meat.
Yeah, because of all the grain it takes up.
A population explosion.
Yeah.
And just because, it's not an efficient way of doing it, you've heard that argument, you know. But what's interesting is, you see, for instance, we barbecue. You're saying the hamburger crowd. I'm the hamburger crowd, but ours just don't have beef in them. Now, some people say, oh, you know, that's a pity.
I guess that would be my next question. Yeah, what are they made out of?
That's a problem. Yeah, but these days, technology, it's actually a lot of American technology, is so good that I had a friend around, and I'm barbecuing this stuff, you know, doing a little drink, the barbecue, sizzling. I open it up, and it looks like kind of, you know, American weekend. And this friend of mine, he said, I can't eat that, I'm sorry. He said, I'm vegetarian. I said, well, so am I, babe. This is all vegetarian stuff. It fooled him. Because then he had about 4 of them. Yeah, because this stuff tastes great.
Is it like soybean? Do you know what it is?
Soy, yeah, soy. Oh, but, you know, technology has come a long way from those terrible burgers you used to get.
Yeah. They're
really pretty good now. I mean, I don't want to preach it. I don't even want to proselytize it.
Or whatever.
Sounds like an operation.
Well, let's get off the farm.
How's your proselytizing?
That's pretty good since I got it prepared. In putting this album together, you have 19 tracks. I wonder how you go about selecting what's going to go on an album like this, and how you selected the songs to go on tour. Do you go back and say, well, we have to have these Beatles tunes, we need these Wings songs, here's some solo stuff, and do you have to agonize over this?
We didn't agonize over it, no. But that was roughly it, where you just said, some Beatles songs, some songs. Basically, because I just wanted to kind of cover my career to date and play some of my best stuff, so we kind of selected it with that in mind. I didn't want to just do a sort of 60s revival tour.
No.
I think that's a bit boring. It's okay for some acts, but I've done a little bit more than that, and I do think my more modern stuff stands up. So I didn't want to betray the new stuff. So we decided we'd put that in. And basically all we did was we just chose a bunch of songs, like you say, some Beatles, some Wings, some solo. Not enough Wings for some people, actually.
Yeah,
some people felt
I would imagine.
a little light on things like Ram and stuff. But, you only got 2 hours.
Yeah.
And what we did, we just rehearsed it. And if in rehearsal it seemed to work, fine. If it didn't, but it was maybe a great song, but we didn't enjoy it, we just knocked it out. So we just waited till we had enough songs that we enjoyed. And we said, right, now we can go on tour. And we threw in some rock and roll things, just that weren't mine.
Matchbox and stuff like that.
Matchbox and stuff.
Are there some songs, like the Beatles songs or Wing songs, that just can't be done live? Have you found? Did you try them and say they're just so complex we can't get them down right?
Well, I wouldn't say they can't be done. I'm sure anything could be done. We can record it. It could be done. Yeah. And these days, with synths and stuff, you can do samples of stuff when it was multi-layered. You can achieve that effect. That wouldn't be the worry that you couldn't do it. More the worry that you didn't want to do it, that it wasn't feeling good. Yeah. Some of them actually just don't feel so good live.
Really?
They're nice songs, but Hey Jude, when you just sing it in rehearsal or you sing it live, kind of feels like, oh yeah, and we'll go, you all join in, and I bet they do. You can get a feeling of what's going to happen. Certain songs aren't as obvious as that, So it was just kind of random choice in a way, and then just seeing what worked.
Yeah. There seems to be a growing vogue for Live and Let Die. There's a band called Jellyfish that does this as an opening song, and Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses is going to record on the next Guns N' Roses album. They're doing Live and Let Die. Amazing. What was the story of that song? How did you were handed this movie and you had to come up with a song, and was it difficult to sort of wrap your music around it?
When you're a songwriter, there's in the old days, the thing of a songwriter when I was like about 14 used to be to write a song for Sinatra. That was like the highest accolade for it. Well, after 14, as you got to 20, that wasn't the case anymore because rock and roll had come in. So then the highest accolade became to sort of write like a big film song, and like a Bond feature song or a title song from a big movie. And I was offered Live and Let Die. So I got the book, the Ian Fleming book. I thought, well, that would be a help. And I read it. I just sat down and thought, it's not an easy... Actually, the most difficult thing is to write to a title like that.
Yeah, really. It's an unlikely title.
Backwards. It doesn't just arrive. In a nice song, you go, diddle-diddle, I believe in yesterday. Oh, that's a good title. But, you're working the other way. You've got to try and figure the whole thing out from the title. And
not a romantic title either. It must have been a little difficult.
But it just came easily. I just sort of thought, right, I'll go that way. When you were young, you used to say live and let live. Now you say live and let die. That's kind of enough to start me off. Yeah. So we did that, and then I got involved with George Martin on it, who did all the do-do-do, do-do-do, and all the orchestral stuff. God. I told him the riffs and where I wanted to go. And stuff. That was nice working with him. The funny story is, and then he took it to the Caribbean where they were filming it. Took it to Cubby Broccoli and sort of... got a little record player and played a little record. And Cubby said, "That's a great demo, man. When are you going to record it?"
Great. Nice.
That's it, Cubby.
Oh, no. I wanted to ask you about a few other songs, too, because I just think the idea of where they came from would be interesting to toy around with. One of them was Maybe I'm Amazed. Did your songs all come from the same place? You just sit down and get an idea, or are they all created differently?
Yeah, hopefully they're all created differently. Because it's boring if they all just come from the same place every time. It's just like churning it out. If you're lucky, you get an inspiration. Either if you sit down at the piano or guitar, whatever it is you're going to play on, just something happens. You'll get a little, ding, a little light bulb will go off, and you go, "Oh, okay, great, that's my direction." This was written very early on when Linda and I just got together, and we was kind of what we sort of call our funky period. We were living pretty funky, just the kids. little two-bedroomed house. It wasn't at all the sort of rich Beatles living at all. We were getting away from that whole thing. Like the Beatles used to get your Christmas tree bought for you by the office, and you just thought, well, this is how everyone lives. You know? And we now, when Linda and I got together, it was like, sod it, we'll just go down the street. I've seen them, they're £8, you know. Let's go and pick up our own Christmas tree. So we were living very like that and just doing it. Funny, actually, we just saw Ringo and Barbara, and that's their big new buzz.
They're buying their own Christmas trees too. Right?
They're absolutely. But it's funny though, you know, most people watching would think, well, everyone buys their own, but it was something we had to break out of, being too dependent on the office and the machinery. So this was written just about that period, and it was about me and Linda really. And I just sat down at the piano and got this "maybe I'm amazed" phrase that kind of stayed through the whole thing. And then I wanted, you know, you hung me on a line. I wanted a few sort of, you know, less pretty things, because it wasn't all pretty what we were going through. It was fairly, it was a little bit tough because of the breakup of the Beatles and Apple, and you know, it was fairly hair raising. You know.
On that note, I think we have to take a break. Is that what you were saying over there? What?
Just keep your hands down.
Oh, no break.
Keep
no
your
break.
hands down,
Forget it. Sorry.
Honestly, I can wave mine around as much as you like.
I'll keep absolutely still. Okay. The are all the legal troubles settled with the Beatles? I mean, apparently they are, and you're all buddies again, right?
Yeah,
everything's swell.
I mean, it was a long time coming.
Yeah.
It was 20 years coming.
Yeah.
And boy,
it's incredible, isn't it?
Some lawyers somewhere made some money on that one. That was a fun case for them. It just took so long. You know, you'd think you had it fixed, and then someone would sort of say, well, I want this, I want an extra $1 million or something. Oops, 5 more months of negotiations about that point. But yeah, it suddenly all came to an end just recently, you know, just before we went on tour.
Did you all call each other up and say, I'm glad
No,
it's
we
over?
didn't. It's boring, isn't it? We should have done. We're not like that.
Yeah.
It's funny, you know, it's like, you know, talking about working at MTV. It's all glamorous and stuff. When you actually do it, it's not quite as glamorous as you think it is.
Not quite.
And, we should have broken champagne and had parties and stuff. We didn't. Nobody rang anyone. It's like, next time I saw him, I said, hey, that's good, isn't it? You know, we're out of it. That's great. But it's much more kind of casual.
Do you see each other okay? I mean, are you like a Traveling Wilburys fan? Do you follow George's career or like Ringo's thing?
I'm
when he goes
interested
out?
in seeing what they're doing. You know, I was pleased that Ringo's tour went down well last year. I was pleased for him. You know. I'm pleased that he's drying out and straightening up, because he admits he was kind of making a bit of a mess of his life. You know, and a good guy like him, it's sad to see him goofing it. But I mean, you know, we all know about sort of these angers that we can suppress in life, you know, and it comes out in those kind of forms. So he's great. He's in great form. Seems really good to me. Just saw him the other night, actually. And George is out the country a lot. I haven't seen him for a while. But I keep up with what he does, you know. And I wish him well, you know. We're pretty good friends, really. I think we all wish each other well. There were times in there when it was all so fraught that we didn't wish each other well at all. But that's calmed down, you know. We don't have really anything to fight about anymore.
I mean, you've known each other so long, my God. You know?
Well, that was always the sadness of it, you know. How about that? 20 years, and you're arguing with your best mates for 20 years. I mean, that goes for you, that stuff. But it was really such a stupid thing and such a pity, you know. But it's the way life goes sometimes. But it's cleaned up now.
What did you make of the Yoko's plan to broadcast Imagine around the world? Do you think John would go for this sort of thing, or do you think it was a nice gesture?
Well, you know, I think gesture and all of that. I think that's fine, you know. The show she did from Liverpool, my feeling about it was that John wouldn't have enjoyed it.
No.
I think a number of people on the bill he would have enjoyed. I mean, I don't want to go down the bill and say who he would and who he wouldn't.
Who did he really hate? But no, I know what you mean.
I think there were one or two on that bill that he might have not. He might have thrown up over. You know, because it was not John. It was not in any way John. It was nothing to do with what he was to do with. But it was a tribute, and John was a great guy, and, you know, he would have been 50 this year. I can't believe that, but it's true.
It's incredible.
But, so, you know, as far as all that was concerned, that was good, really, to do. But I hate to say, I think some of those things can ruin his reputation rather than enhance it. And I mean, I'm not just talking for me now. This isn't just a personal...
Well, it's like seeing him sort of wheeled out as a symbol and sort of used to say, we're going to create this. I know, it seems like he's exploitation.
I got a letter recently sort of invited me to this United Nations thing. And it was written to me, and it was like, come and hear, you know, this is a tribute to John Lennon. And it's like, I know who you're talking about if you say John. I kind of, you know, I'm personal. But, you know, I get the same sort of form letter that everyone gets, and it's a little bit
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit of a piss off occasionally. But I'd say, you know, as far as the tribute's concerned, as far as love for John's concerned, that's why I did it on the tour each night.
Yeah.
I figured, well, if I'm going to do a tribute, it might as well be my tribute. I don't need to go on other people's tribute shows. I might as well just do it right to the audience, so there's no problem then. You know?
Yeah.
And that I enjoyed. That was great, just relating to the audience and singing Give Peace a Chance and
Yeah.
Strawberry Fields in Hell.
It must have been good. Did you, in doing that, did you think, gosh, I wish we had done that when we were all together? Like maybe the Beatles should have done another tour or something?
Yeah, well, that's why we broke up.
Yeah.
I wanted that to happen.
Yeah.
I wanted to actually go back on a kind of roots tour to the little gigs.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things we broke up over, was that the guys didn't all agree with that. They wanted to stay big and stuff. I felt we'd lost it.
Yeah. Could that have been done? Could you have gone and played clubs, do you think, without chaos setting in?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, chaos might have set in, but what's wrong with a bit of chaos? You know, we would have still done it. It would have been great. It would have been good fun. And more importantly, what I was interested in, it would have been good for the band.
Yeah.
Because that was what the Beatles was. It's a great little band.
Yeah.
You could sit down and you could say, okay, Dizzy Miss Lizzy, in G, 3, 4, pop. And we could do it. You know, and that was the strength.
Yeah.
We were a great little band. And I wanted us to become that great little band again.
Yeah.
And not this huge, overblown edifice, which we were becoming.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things we sort of brought.
Things have really changed. I mean, you guys used to be able to go out in a van with like Neil or something and just hit the clubs. Is it different?
Well, I did that shortly after, you know.
Yeah, right.
Personally, I just did that. We did what we call the university tour, where we took a van,
Yeah.
the band, and the equipment came behind in a U-Haul.
Must be a very different feeling, isn't it, playing on that scale?
Oh man, it was great. It was insane. We took. It was like 50p at the door to come in. So when we got paid, we had a bag of coins. I was like, wow, you know, this is like medieval. Reminded me of Peter Sellers in Tom Thumb. You know, counted 1 for you, 2 for me. It was great. I used to feel like Duke Ellington or Count Basie or someone, you know, so paying the band after the gig in the van. That was great. It was really refreshing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that fame thing, as you know, you've interviewed many people who it goes for.
Yeah.
I am famous.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to Ringo about this just the other night, and he was saying, you know, before he'd taken this latest sort of move he's taking, he expected everyone and wanted everyone to treat him like the great Beatle all the time, or he'd give them trouble, you know.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you know, that's pretty
Yeah.
heavy load to live with. Some people are going to say,
Yeah.
you're not me, buddy, and you'll meet that wall somewhere. I'm not so keen on that, you know. I'm more happy if people just sort of take me for what I am. So we did a bit of that, and it was pretty funny, actually.
Wow.
We never knew what hotel. We'd show up at a place, and we wouldn't have a hotel booked.
Jesus.
So we'd literally be kind of just driving around looking for hotels. We end up in the crummiest hotel because everything else was booked.
No.
Boy, we had some fun.
I brought some things along. I wonder if you're aware of these. These are ultra rare tracks. Actually, they're really great, but they're all bootlegs.
Yeah.
As you can see, and they're like 15 different versions of "Can't Buy Me Love," outtakes, alternate takes. There's a ravening market for this. This is by a company called The Swinging Pig. Who knows where they are? But where do you suppose this stuff comes from?
This comes from all the outtakes and all the, you
But
know.
how did they get their hands on it?
Well, the thing is, we were never really very careful. I mean, we went down to EMI to record, and when the recording was done, we went home. You know, we didn't watch where they put the tape. So all you needed was one engineer to let a friend in one night, or even take a little copy for himself.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how kind of available that stuff is. You just got to know where the file is and get in one. Even it's funny. Some guys broke into EMI.
Yeah. Right.
But once to try and get some tapes. The filing system was so bad they couldn't find it. They couldn't find all our stuff. It was like amongst this.
It's like the Buddy Holly story. You're stumbling over Buddy Holly tapes in a box somewhere.
Well, it is a bit like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where this comes from. You know, if we'd have little demo tapes just to check on whether the mix was the mix we wanted. You know?
Yeah.
And falls by the wayside, you move house or something and the box goes.
Yeah.
I think that's where it all comes from.
Do you feel, I mean, I think a lot of fans would like to see EMI and Capitol just put everything out, whatever it is, every scrap of tape, or release
The
it.
difficult question is like, every bit of what? You mean all the takes we didn't
Whatever.
like?
Yeah, probably,
That's what people seem to want.
Yeah.
It's a bit funny for us, you know, you do like 9 takes of a thing, and we say, no, take 9, great, we finally got it right. And now they want to release takes 1 to 8.
Yeah.
It doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, I think, as you say, for the rabid collector, okay. maybe you've got to have it all and something. But
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't be that interested in it. I mean,
They just want to hear like John counting something down and stopping
that
and
I
saying
love.
"damn" or something.
that's
you know.
cool. Yeah, all of that I love. All the other stuff between the takes I love. Obviously, I don't really like hearing bum takes of stuff.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm looking at it professionally and thinking, oh, that
Yeah.
was when I goofed. That was when I played the wrong note. I'm not particularly interested in that. But I can see how other people are.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to like that in other people's records.
Right.
But it's like you could probably dig some other interviewer goofing up and getting it all wrong, but you might not like it so much if it's you.
Well, I'm used to it by now.
Yes.
But,
well, this is
you know.
what the audience says. Most of the letters I get say that.
Are there any songs looking back that your fans really love and really want to hear, and you just say, I can't play that song one more time? Or you're just pretty open to all of it?
I'm pretty open to all of them.
No.
If they want to hear them, that's sort of the way I feel showbiz goes. It's like, basically I try and give an audience what it wants.
Yeah.
Particularly now with this tour. I mean, before that, it was too close to the Beatles breakup, and it was like there was pain in doing this stuff. It was like, oh my God, the memories. But now I think it's fine, if someone wants to listen to it. There are a number of songs that I wouldn't do just because I don't like them much.
No.
There's a few off some of them. There's one song called Bit Bop. So, I wouldn't do, I just wouldn't do that. But it's funny, I was talking to someone saying this, and he said, it's my favourite song, man. So what are you going to do?
I wonder if you, since you're familiar with the 60s and the anti-war movement then, I wonder how you feel, especially having children, about what's going on in the Middle East right now. Are you alarmed by that? Do you see any resemblance between the two eras? Are you surprised that more young people aren't objecting to what's going on?
Yeah, number one, I don't like what's going on. I don't think anybody really likes what's going on. I think it's a very difficult thing. I haven't studied it, so any answer I give is like from television news and stuff. But I've looked at that a lot. I think it's a reasonable thing to try and stop a guy like that doing what he's doing, what Hussein's doing. I think if everyone does feel they can move into the next door weaker country and take it over, I think we got problems.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was really what the Falklands episode was about. I don't think anyone wanted to see people come and get killed. But once you've said, we own it, someone else comes up and says, no, you don't. I want to have it off you. That's like mugging.
Yeah.
And, much as I want peace, I still believe in defense.
Yeah.
You've got to have defense.
Although
or else really it'll go crazy. It really will be like the streets of New York at night. You'd totally be defenseless.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in politicians who say you don't need defense. I think you do, unfortunately. But I don't know, really. I haven't seen much reaction from over here. Maybe that's what you're talking about. Maybe
the media seems to like it. It seems like every time there is something like this that goes on, some military action, it's a good thing for the media because people can...
Well, any tragedy is a good thing for the media.
Yeah.
They're the people who make money off tragedy.
Yeah.
Any tragedy. That's who makes money off it. And you can't blame them. That's their business. Girl gets slain on the streets of New York. That's the headline. They'll make money off that, not the slain girl's family.
Yeah.
And they don't donate any of it.
Very true.
So they're actually in the business of making money off tragedy. So sure, they like it. They liked Vietnam. They like all of them. It's our boys fighting. It's all a bit that. I don't like that side of it. I just wish the guy would get out of Kuwait and shut up, and we can all go home. I think everyone wishes that.
Do you think politics in the UK and the US today what you would have imagined them to be in the 60s? I mean, did you ever imagine this is where we'd wind up with conservative governments on both sides of the ocean and kind of?
No, I thought we'd get a little bit more liberal.
Yeah.
Certainly in the 60s. I think what happened, though, the old problem. In the 60s, a lot of people said, beware of the backlash from this. They said, look, this is so liberal here, you might end up with a police state, because for every liberal move, there's a sort of equal backlash. And I think that's basically what's happened. But now I sense you're getting a backlash against that conservatism now.
Yeah. Where do you see that arising?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I'd like to see a nice middle ground. I think some of the stuff that these governments do is great. They're obviously trying to do good.
Yeah.
They're not. I don't think they're purposely trying to goof up.
Yeah.
But it's a very difficult job. I was just talking to someone the other day. It's like I got my business, and I sort of do business with this and that. Mainly music business for me. But I can kind of do pretty much what I want. So I can sort of go and make money. Governments is different. They get the money off the people. It's a very
produce
fixed
nothing.
amount.
Yeah.
It's especially when you're not going to have any more taxes, read my lips. It's a very fixed amount at that point. And you've got to balance the books. You've got to spend all this money needs spending and get all the roads fixed with that one amount of money each year. It's different from a commercial company where you can say, look, we're going to need some more money next year, so let's do a commercial venture. Let's put a record out or let's make a...
Yeah.
They can't do that.
Well, politicians don't produce anything, right?
They don't produce anything, It's a non-productive industry. So for that, I suppose they're doing reasonably well. I'd like to see people like Bush be more... take more notice of what went on in the 60s and things like that, and sort of,
I don't think we're going to see that happen.
I don't think you are, I mean, it's a very difficult question, man. It's like we should probably spend 3 months discussing this rather than be flippant about it, because these are like real deep questions.
Well, I was talking to George Harrison recently and asked him where he stands politically. He said, I think we should shoot all the politicians and then shoot all the industrialists, is essentially where he is. Would you put yourself to the left or right of that statement, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, George is George. I'm not even sure if he still believes that now, this week. But, no, I think...
Do you think you're less liberal than you were?
I think. Yeah. I don't seriously think George wanted to shoot all the politicians. I think when you actually got him lined up and gave George a gun, I'm not sure he'd pull the trigger. So, I don't think it actually makes any sense, that statement. Sorry, George. But I don't.
Do you think you're less liberal than you were in the 60s? I mean, do you think you've grown more conservative naturally as you get older?
No, I don't really think so, no. I think I kind of believe pretty much the same kind of things I believed then. I was a little bit conservative in the 60s. Yeah. I didn't believe in total disarmament.
War suits.
I really do think you've got a problem there. I mean, I used to read history when I was in school, and you heard about nations, I forgot it now, so long ago, but there'd be a nation that would achieve the dream that we want, of peacefulness. They live in peace. Marvellous, marvellous. Your only problem was Alexander the Great, who would then suddenly leap in and say, well, sorry, boys, I got guns. Or the British Empire, that's what we did. There was the Arawak Indians living on Jamaica, and we just went, bah! We had bigger guns than they did. So I think for that reason you've got to have defence. Yeah. Really, I do think.
Sure.
You've got to have cops. I mean, where would you be without cops?
Sure.
You may not like them. You've got to have them.
No one calls them pigs anymore. So I think they're the...
Well, I used to have a problem with my kids with that. It was a fashion to call them pigs. Yeah. But I used to say, look, I've been around the world, and you better start liking the British police. No. Because they're okay, man. No. Compared to some of the police I've met in some of these less civilized
Los Angeles or someplace.
It's like Los Angeles, yeah. No, but it's true, man. If you travel a lot, you see some real dodgy police behaviour, and comparatively, we're quite lucky. Yeah.
You've been at some shows in some unusual places, too. I mean, have you had any great experience, been chased out of town or anything by promoters or anything like that?
The weirdest one, I think, with the Beatles was when we played Manila, played the Philippines. And we were on a tour that was going to take us to Australia. We'd already just done Japan, we'd done Europe, and we'd sent ahead a message, a telegram, to the promoter saying, we won't be able to meet the president of the Philippines. They tried to fix a meeting with him. And we said, we won't be able to meet him. Sorry, all the apologies in the world, but it's our one day off on this tour. And if you look at the itinerary, it literally is, there's like one day, and that goes off. And boy, you needed that day. So we wired ahead. But by the time we got there, this was not like what the country you and I would know. This is a less civilized country. This is where you see like a Wall Street and then a shanty literally backed up against the big, this is like this. These blow away, this doesn't. And this is your money, kids, and this is, So it was, so we wanted the day off anyway. We got there, and because they didn't listen to us, they said, right, you're due to meet the president of the country tomorrow. We said, no, we told you, we're not going. They said, you'll have to. And they thought, great, we've got them in a corner, they're here, they can't snap the president. But we made it a point of principle. We said, no, we're not going. We told you, we wired ahead. It's our one day off. So I was around, kind of get 8mm of these buildings in the shanty towns and buying little painting off the shanty town. And I got back to the hotel, and it's like millions of these people there. You've got to come. And we turn on the television, and there's Imelda on telly. And the First Lady and her blue ladies. She has like a retina called the Blue Ladies. And they're all there, and they're waiting for the Beatles. And we go, oh dear, God, we said, well, we can't go. We said, point of principle, we're not going. We're not going to just scoot down there now because we're backed in the corner. So the next morning, the national paper, which we now find out because it was Marcus, it was like his paper. This was not Democracy there. The national newspaper had the headlines, Beatles snub president. So, like, they switched all the elevators off when we went to the airport.
Really?
The taxi drivers were behind a big plate glass wall all going, I'd kill you, slit you, run the fast, I hate you. So we hid behind some nuns. That looks like a good spot.
Well, the Marcos has got theirs.
Well, after they threw the chauffeur down the stairs, we thought we better hide somewhere. You know.
I wanted to show you.
Anyway, it was great in later because it turned out to be Marcos. So
Yeah.
we were actually proud of having done that.
Marcos was our guy, of course. Don't say anything bad about it.
Yes.
I wanted to show you this. I imagine your kids have made peace with this by now, but do you remember these?
Yes, I do remember them all too well. It's marvellous. They show up on tour, these.
Yeah,
In
they're
fact, there was
pretty rare. I
people
think.
like this on tour in the front rows. Hi, how you doing? Okay.
Was there ever a point where your kids said, "Geez, Dad, what was going on there? They're making dolls of you," and you were like a god back then?
I think they're like most people. They look at the telly and stuff, and they kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah.
They see Dad was famous in the
Yeah.
Beatles, and when they were very young, there used
Yeah.
to be things like that. What am I doing with little? Welcome to Captain Kangaroo.
Are they over that period now? I mean, do they now just take
Is
it?
this me? No, this isn't me, is it? This is George or something.
I don't know. It belongs to this gentleman over here. Who is it, John?
This very infantile producer of yours. Sit. It's okay.
But are your kids very matter of fact about it now? Is it just
Yeah,
like,
well, they know now.
oh, it's just
They
Dad?
watch telly. They're like anyone else. They know what's going on. But when they were very little, I remember them, we were in Scotland on holiday once, and they were coming by on a pony. They were really little. And the littlest one of them, I can't remember who it was. It was Stella at the time. She said, "You're Paul McCartney." Yeah, I am. But
But
they were
also,
so little. But then, pretty much after that, they started to get the hang
Yeah.
of it.
you trying to tell us
Let
something?
me do one thing.
You
with
interrupted here.
continuity. Let's get rid of this. And then
With this little
also,
guy and these
Don't go far with those, John.
that's the blue too.
I think you're a Beatleophile or something. Every time I come, you've got something madder
kinda.
to show me.
Okay, we're coming down to it. So, Obsessive Fans, the album, those are two. We got to definitely get those in right now.
All right.
So, want to talk about Mark and stuff?
Okay.
Is that back in the way?
Yeah, the album kind of important, yeah.
I think we should do that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So let's definitely cover Obsessive Fans. And then we can add it.
Well, have you got something else on Obsessive Fans coming up? Are you trying to do a table?
No, he had John had heard a story that once you were like some fans chased you down a street or something, and finally you just stopped and turned around and said, "Okay, here I am.
Okay.
What do you
Go
want?"
ahead, I can
Is
do
that a true story?
Sure. I can do that. Are we rolling?
Are we going?
Still rolling.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, the fan thing, it's, I always feel like I've had a kind of sort of big brother, an elder brother relationship
Yeah.
with the fans rather than a kind of boyfriend-girlfriend thing, So they could kind of scream and go mad, but I could always sort of calm it down,
Yeah.
I used to, I still do, I like kind of using public transport a lot. I mean, people say, what, are you kidding,
Yeah.
But you can do that stuff. You'd be surprised, you just sort of sit on a bus. There's only about 3 people who recognise you, and what are they going to do?
Wear a hat
They
or
wait
something?
till they go home. No, I don't. I just kind of wander around. It's funny. You'd be surprised. Anyway, this was like at the height of the Beatles thing, and I was actually walking to the gig. I just thought, well, it was a bit crazy probably to do, but it was at the height. And this crowd of about 30 or 40 girls spotted me. They were outside the thing. They came running towards me. I wasn't running away. They were running towards me. I was walking to the gig. They went, I said, right, stop, right there. What do you want? Well, you can't have anything unless you calm down. Now we can talk. And gradually, I say, like, an elder brother, calm down. Oh, okay, well, you said, all right. So we just walked to the gig together, this little crowd, little band of people, and I did it often. Generally, we never got as crazy fans as you read about or as you assume. You see them in Hard Day's Night running around and falling all over themselves and stuff. But when you actually stop them and meet them, they're great. It's when they're in sort of on heat.
Yeah.
There's a slight problem, but. We only had 1 or 2 bad ones. There was once in Paris, some girl ran up behind us and with scissors. She just wanted a bit of our hair. Yes! She got a telling off.
Jeez.
She got a fairly decent telling off. She said, no, pas de sleep. No.
What is it?
We don't do this.
Let's-
And then an English ambassadors thing in Washington we did once. There was a sort of ambassadorial thing because it was Washington. And they were like... It was really English. Oh, I do, the Beatles. So of course he'll give you his autograph. Piss off. Who are you?
God.
So there were only one or two cases like that got obnoxious. Generally, people were really cool. They still are, you know. So I kind of like them, you know. I say you've got to think of them as individuals rather than a mob.
Yeah.
If you think of them as a mob, you're frightened. You know, we used to hear the stories like of Johnny Ray. Before
Right.
But he used to run. I mean, I think that was why he had his clothes ripped off and stuff.
Yeah.
He'd run. It's not a good instinct to run.
Stand up fight,
guys.
I wonder what you want out of what you're looking for out of a live album. When you put a live album together, do you want it to be something like totally different from every other live album ever made, or?
Sure. Sure.
How do you go about ensuring that then?
No, really, all I wanted to do with this live album was give the people who came to our show a great souvenir.
Yeah.
So that you could actually say, oh, yeah, I went to that show, and here's the kind of show album.
Yeah.
We basically wanted to recreate the show as faithfully as we could. So we didn't mess too much with the running order. Sometimes you had to. It had to be slightly different just because of dynamics and the whole thing, you know. We basically tried to say that if you came to the show and you enjoyed it, then this album is for you. This is the souvenir album from it. I haven't really tried to do anything more complex than that, except the other little trick we've done is we've put in, every so often, we've put in these sound check, what we call trinkets.
Really?
Yeah, well, we've just put odd things that weren't in the show. We used to always do a song at sound checks called Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying. Just because it's a nice one to do. You see, if you do the show's numbers, you do the numbers from the show at sound check, we're bored by the evening. We say, we've done this once today. So I hate that kind of thing. So the sound check used to be really another show. There'd be about 5 people out there digging this completely different show. So we tried to get that feeling on the album. So there's
what other kind of songs were you doing, for example?
We did Matchbox all the time. That was like our sound check number. We did Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying. We'd do Sea Moon, which wasn't in the show. What else would we do? Sound checks. We'd do silly things. And we'd make up stuff. That was the most fun. We'd jam. Because basically only just trying to feel the sound out of the hall you're playing in. Pretty much knew the show. We didn't have to rehearse that. So you need to know if there's a big echo or not. Now, you can do that on a nice little guitar jam. And when I sound check, I use guitar rather than bass or anything. So we've got millions of jams. Too many, really. But some of them are really good. I'm actually thinking of putting an album together with those.
Were you recording every show you did, or did you just...
Well, we did that, because we were either going to just choose certain shows, and the difficulty with that is you may not be happening that night. And you put all your money into those shows, and you record it all, and then you blow it. And also the pressure. You think, oh, are they recording tonight? Oh, my God.
Right.
Every little thing you ever did good, you do bad, you know. It can work the other way. You can be better as well, but... So what happened was we just decided to buy a Mitsubishi machine, and then it's ended up in my studio now. So
convenient.
it was kind of always going to my studio, but we borrowed it in the meantime, kind of thing. So we just got one of the guys from Shoko, Jeff Cohen. Hi, Jeff. And he recorded it all, which was a mammoth task anyway. Then it was sent back to England, and a guy, Pete Henderson, God bless him, sat through it all. Which I tell you, I don't envy him. He sat through like virtually 100 shows, you know. And then we gave those selected takes. He just said, well, I think these are about the 5 best Hey Judes. So then it was manageable. Then we gave that to Bob Clearmount, and I went in with Bob. And Bob said he was very glad to have this Pete do the work.
Really?
Because otherwise, you know, really it's just too much to do. The brain just goes.
Do you have like an all-time favorite live album that that has inspired you along these lines? Like
I always like the Ray Charles early album with What Did I Say on it, Tell the Truth.
When in Birmingham, it was recorded in Alabama, right?
I never knew where it was recorded, really. I mean, I
in
wasn't
person,
professional. I kind of just listened to it. It's just a Ray Charles album.
And that was recorded with one microphone.
I just loved that album. I think that was a live album.
Yeah, it was.
That was my favorite. You know, I think it still is.
Yeah.
It's just because he just performs great. You know?
Yeah.
It's really all I need off a live album. I mean, you know, that's the question really. What do you want? You know, do you just want to hear whoever it is you like singing great, or do they have to do something kind of much more special? I think really the former. You know, you do what you do on the show basically, and just try and make it a real good take of it.
Yeah.
So it's special. So we've got things on the album. We've got like a really nice take along the Winding Road, which was at Rio, which is where we broke this big record and had 184,000 people in there. So that's great. So the audience is real great at the end of that, and we do a nice take on that. And it's quite representative of the gigs. There's some from Germany, a lot from the States, some from England, some from Japan.
Yeah.
So hopefully, anyone who went to see the show, there's kind of something that you heard.
Yeah.
I think it's worked out pretty nice anyway. I
do
like
too.
the album.
You're trying to tell us something.
I just need a definitive October 1990 closing statement for the whole interview. Okay. Now we have to do IDs and stuff like that.
Oh, well, okay.
The interview will be over.
You've got the definitive statements.
They're all there.
If there was the first question, it's all over.
So we'll just do a couple IDs and.
Yeah.
One open for our show, The Week in Rock, saying, I'm Paul McCartney, welcome to The Week in Rock.
Sure.
Or however you want to put it.
Yeah, sure. We can.
Let's do ours first because it's
Because
ours.
it's
Of course, Kurt.
I'll get out of the way.
Beth, do we need any?
Actually,
You ready? Week in Rock.
Week in Rock.
Week in Rock. You going to give me a cue?
Did you set it up tape?
Setting up a separate bit of tape.
We'll need a couple different things.
Okay,
like
quiet,
wishing us a
please.
happy birthday and stuff like that. We're coming on 10 years.
You tell me all those.
Okay, in 4, 3.
Hi, this is Paul McCartney, and you're watching The Week in Rock. Yo.
Perfect.
Give us a. All right, we have a few different. All right, give us a. Wish us a happy birthday. We're coming on our 10th.
MTV's Happy Birthday.
Yeah, it's the 10th year.
Okay.
Okay. Set in 4, 3.
Hi, this is Paul McCartney. Happy birthday, MTV. I love you. Falls over dead.
Is there any recollection of the first time you saw MTV that you could talk to the camera at all?
Oh my God, party. Sure. Answer that. No, I mean, I just kind of remember the summer it was on, kind of, it was groovy and that, but that won't make as much.
No. Okay, what do we need for the international that you know about?
Richard would like to explain this one too.
This is the party. This is the dinner, the competition.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to happen in all of the territories,
All
which is
countries.
Japan, Brazil.
Yeah.
Australia.
These are all the MTV territories.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've got to basically do something saying,
Oh my God, party.
Come have dinner
Sure.
with Linda and I do we want to say London or in England or?
in England, I
In
think,
England.
because we haven't
England,
decided
yeah.
where.
No,
yet.
right.
So,
In December.
So what do I say then? In December, I say,
So hi there, Japan. Looking forward to seeing the competition winners or
you
something.
can do it generic. You don't have to say each country because
No.
it'll take you a
Oh,
while
I
if you
see.
do each country unless you want to. Just say, hi, I am.
McCartney. I know that bit. I'm good at that bit. Hi, it's Paul McCartney. I'm looking forward to seeing
Seeing you in December. Linda's cooking up something special for you, or
I'm looking forward to seeing the prize winners.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right, it's the prize
contest
winners.
or
Contest
prize
winners.
However you want to say it in your words, where you feel
Right.
comfortable.
Contest winners, that's
Contest winners in December. Linda and I are going to cook.
Yeah,
be
okay,
cooking
something like that.
for you from Linda's
I think we
cookbook.
could say something like that. We'll be making you something from Linda's
Linda's
cookbook.
cookbook.
one. Yeah,
Then we get that
okay.
across there as well.
Okay, so I say, hi there, it's Paul McCartney. I'm looking forward to seeing all you prize winners. All you, are there millions of them?
Fine.
All
Yes,
you prize winners.
There'll be 5 plus their guests, so there'll be 10 total.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to seeing the competition winners in December in England, where we're going to have dinner together. Linda's cooking up something special for my cookbook.
Perfect.
Be there. Something like that? Okay.
Perfect.
Dinner with the McCartney, that is a great.
That's a competition with it.
You can't enter.
Okay, we're moving it over.
Yeah, that's right. You're not allowed.
Quiet. 4, 3.
Hi, this is Paul McCartney, and I'm looking forward to seeing the winners of the competition in England for dinner. Linda is cooking up something very special. Be there in December. Did that say it enough? Yeah. Sensibly enough? Okay. Hi, it's Paul McCartney. I'm speaking for Coca-Cola. I know when I say that you think I've sold out, but not this time. Visa, yes, that was a cop-out. However... Strip me down.
There we go.
Thank you,
Thank
Lydia.
you very much.